Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am excited to have with me Chrissy Myers, and let me tell you a little bit about Chrissy. She is the author of Reluctantly Resilient and the CEO of AUI and Clarity HR, which provide insurance benefits and HR services to small and medium-sized businesses in both profit and nonprofit sectors. Chrissy describes herself as the chief cheerleader for both companies, setting direction, steering the marketing, content, and finding creative ways to disrupt two established business sectors. Chrissy is also the author of AUI Gives Back and Clarity Cares, two community impact programs where employees serve in community, track their impact, and share what they are doing on behalf of their customers. Around Akron, Chrissy works to leave her community a better place. She is a graduate of Leadership Ohio, Torchbearers, Leadership Akron, Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses, Sacker-Later, NEO, and Community Leadership Institute. She has received the 30 for the Future Award from the Greater Akron Chamber and an Achievement on Excellence Award from National Sales and Marketing Executives. As an advocate for families struggling with addiction and mental health issues, Chrissy serves as the vice chair of the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of the Summit County. I can talk. In addition, Chrissy serves on the board of directors for the Greater Akron Chamber, Goodwill Industries of Northeast Ohio, and Jobs for Ohio Graduates. Such an impressive background. Today, I thought we would talk about leadership lessons. After all, we do talk about confidence and leadership on this podcast. Building AUI, Clarity HR, and Team Awesome Sauce. Please welcome Chrissy Myers.
Well, thank you, Vicki, for that wonderful introduction.
Lots and lots of stuff. And I didn't even get into your personal stuff, so we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But
Sure.
Just as the simple question that we always start with is telling everyone, I think I gave it away, but where do you live?
So I am coming to you from Akron, Ohio. So I am raised and rooted in Akron my entire life, and I love the state of Ohio. I know you're in Georgia, so.
Yeah, but I am actually a Pittsburgh girl.
Okay. Go
So
Midwest.
I grew up in Pittsburgh, but I have lived now in Georgia for longer than I lived. I moved here when I was 29. So a long time ago now. But I still go home. I still call it home. But Georgia is where I live. So we went into, as I said, all of those professional accolades that you have. But I always like just for you to briefly talk about your journey of what took you to becoming the CEO of AUI and the CEO of Clarity HR, and the importance of being a team leader.
Okay. So AUI is a third generation family business. It turned 50 this year, and I am the
Well,
third generation in the business. So it became, Vicki, if you want a car, you'll work for us. If you want to go to college and have us pay for it, you'll work for us. So I did. And then I graduated with my MBA from the University of Akron. My dad looked at me and he said, "Do you want to work for us?" And I went, "No, I do not." I do not, because I've done every really cruddy job in a family business that you don't always want to do. I mean, on holidays and weekends, I'm stuffing candy boxes to give away to customers. I'm doing customer service calls to people that may or may not be living anymore because we didn't update our records. I had to teach individuals how to use email because at one point in time, I was 14 and I knew how to use email better than the rest of the office staff because I'd been trained on it in elementary school. So he said, "Well, will you give me 6 months?" And I said, "No, I'll give you 6 weeks." And in those 6 weeks, while I was interviewing for other jobs, because I was going into big corporate America, if I was going to work in insurance, I was going to go to one of the big insurance carriers, the Medical Mutual of Ohio, Anthem Blue
hmm
Cross, something bigger. Um, and in those 6 weeks, he gave me everything that I wanted in a position, the ability to make changes, to add innovation, to work with staffing models and build operational efficiencies. So I didn't leave. And then we started to transition as his health declined. I continued to step into bigger roles and work through the organization. He passed in 16 and my mom took over, and she decided in about 17, 18 that she was going to transition and I was going to purchase the business from her. One thing that a lot of times family business individuals who aren't in a family business think is that everything gets gifted to you. Most of the time, that's not the case. You
Yeah.
pay for it over a
hmm
significant amount of time. So we went through that negotiation process and closed in April of 2019. And then I launched Clarity HR in August of 2019 as well. So I took the legacy family business and launched a startup in the same year.
And they said, "Oh, wait, let's just throw in COVID for you."
Exactly. Yeah. The first thing that you graduate from all these business programs, you're super excited, you have your growth plan, and then the world shuts down. I'm like, my goodness.
But in a ways, I think it was most likely a blessing because you being younger and maybe more willing to pivot quickly might have been the best thing that business could have done to survive in the craziness that came about in the next 2.5 years.
I think so. And I would agree with you and also tell you that in Reluctantly Resilient, we talk about, COVID was the second major hurricane that I remember experiencing in our family business. The first was dealing with the transition of the Affordable Care Act, where
Mm,
within 90 days, our income was cut in half. We had to figure out how to pivot and sell from a program that had never been created before. I mean, we had a
mhm.
bill that had become law that we didn't even know what a lot of the rules and regulations were going to be around it. So
Yeah.
that was the first pivot. So I was ready for COVID because of what happened during the Affordable Care Act rollout. And then during that rollout, I talk about, how life happens in the margins. And sometimes we're resilient, not because we want to be, but because
Yeah.
we have to be. So
Right.
30 days before the Affordable Care Act was going to go live, I lost my first husband to suicide. And so
Mm,
not only was I dealing with a personal trauma and a personal hurricane with two young children, but then I'm also leading an organization that's about to make a major transition in a sector where we didn't really know what the roadmap was going to be.
yeah. And I think, you know, congratulations to you that you survived all this because resilience isn't always, overcoming business things. It is making yourself get out of bed when you really, really have all the reasons in the world not to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
But
exactly right.
those two small children were probably a great, great incentive for you that you can't give up. And for me, my kids are always an inspiration to do more than I ever thought I could do, to lead as an example for them. You know, you can lead in one way or you can lead in another. And I always tried to do it the positive way if I could at all possible. I'd like to also talk about the whole idea of AUI. If you could just explain,
Mhm.
what is AUI to you? What is their mission. And then also we talked about in our heading that it's us, Team Awesome Sauce, which
Yes.
I love. I'll say that 100 times through this interview because I just do love, everybody out there should have a Team Awesome Sauce. I'm just
They
telling
should.
you. I'm just telling you right now. And so talk to us about those two things.
Yeah, so AUI stands for Associated Underwriters Insurance. So it
Mhm.
is an agency that provides small business health insurance benefits for organizations across the country, but predominantly in Northeast Ohio. It was started by my grandmother, who was married to my grandfather, who was a Southern Baptist minister. And so he didn't make a lot of money in his
Mhm.
congregation. So she was the one that really helped put things together and put food on the table. And so AUI, our mission is, and the same with Clarity, is we provide peace of mind by simplifying the complicated. So we take things that are confusing and sometimes overwhelming to small business owners, insurance and human resources, and we simplify them, make them easy to understand, and help guide them through some of the decisions that they need to make so that they can feel empowered and not necessarily scared by some of the things they have to do regarding their
Yeah.
people. Because HR can be scary and picking the right insurance plan can be scary. So
Mhm.
one of our things that we have in our core values is community. So we believe that serving the community is just as important as doing business in the
Yes.
community, which is why we work with AUI Gives Back and Clarity Cares, two programs to kind of bring awareness to our customers to know that when we're doing things in the community, we're only doing it because you enable us to do that. So we thank you as that. And this is how we give back. And Team Awesome Sauce, well, it's pretty simple, Vicki. When you have 4 people with 3 different last names, a mom who builds businesses, and a dad who played team sports, you get a team name, Team Awesome Sauce. You get a purpose statement, which is we radiate awesome in the world, a motto, which is put more awesome in the sauce, and you get a set of core values and t-shirts, and you just kind of continue to live your life with intention. So at one point in
Mhm.
time, I had someone tell me, you run your family like a business. And I said, no, that's wrong. We run our businesses like families
Yeah.
because it's really important at the family level, especially when you're an entrepreneurial family, to have intention built around what you do as a
Mhm.
family.
That's so true. And I think that it's really important about the community aspect, especially, insurance doesn't have a great rap. And and it has to be somewhat somehow, some way showing that we do care, as being in insurance, that it's not just to make the most money off of you.
Mhm.
And so I think that's important. And any business that I have been associated with, I look to see what their community service impact was. And that's who I would go with. I didn't care how much money they were making as a corporation or how big they were. I wanted to know that they gave back. So I
Oh,
think that's important that your business does that as well.
well, thank you. I think it is too. I think that there are oftentimes, especially in insurance, we know that there are times of year where we're not really busy. And so it enables us to kind of do more in the community. And in celebration for turning 50 this year, AUI and Clarity are doing 50 acts of service to celebrate 50 years. So we're really enjoying doing some different things within the community, sponsorships, also different collaborative events, cleanup events. One of the things in Akron, we are the home of the Soapbox Derby. So we're doing a
Hmm.
cleanup day with the All American Soapbox Derby in a couple of weeks, kind of going in, doing some raking, cleaning up the leaves so that they can, their big push for soapbox racing happens in the summertime with families. And so we're going to be helping get their facility ready. We've done some big collection drives for Goodwill Industries. We just finished a pet supply drive. We have office dogs at AUI and Clarity. So making sure that we can take care of all of the puppies and kitties in the community is really important to us as well.
And you mentioned that you're primarily in the Ohio area, but entrepreneurs are everywhere, and a lot of them, for a lot of us, we're retired and we do have medical insurance and things like that, health insurance because of the place we retired from, or we're like I am, also at the age where I now have Medicare and all those things. But there are younger people who don't have that, and it scares them, and they
Mhm.
may have entrepreneurships just stay as a gig because
Yes.
they're doing something to make sure they have health insurance, and it may slow down their ability to grow, scale, because they only can give so many hours. So how can you and your business help those entrepreneurs as small
Yeah.
business owners?
So I would say that health insurance should never be the reason that prevents you from really pursuing your entrepreneurial dream.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways that we can figure out the insurance bucket, and we do that a lot at AUI. In fact, we work with a significant amount of solopreneurs. We have hundreds of solopreneurs that we work with within our organization. And that transition of, I'm going to leave my W-2, or I'm thinking about starting this business, but I'm going to have a part-time job, but I'm not going to have insurance, or I have Cobra. All of those things, we kind of take the roadmap, we look at everything and go, okay, what is the right option for you? Because a lot of times it's not going to be a group health insurance plan right away. It may be an Affordable Care Act plan that is subsidized. There are some individuals, Vicki, that you qualify for Medicaid or a subsidized insurance in the state plan. And I've had several business owners have come and said, "Is it okay that I'm using this benefit?" And I'm like, "Yes, you've paid into that benefit for years. Most likely when you were a W-2 employee for somebody else. Now it's time for you to use that benefit
Mm.
until you can afford to pay for something else." So we don't ever want insurance to be the prevention that gets you from pursuing that entrepreneurial dream. We want you to be a small business owner. Insurance is just paperwork. We figure it out, whether it's a private plan, a subsidized plan, or even looking at those types of health shares. Because a lot of times, especially on the small business side, you've got individuals that don't necessarily use their insurance a great deal. So it becomes, what is the usable and the
Mhm.
right type of fit for you? So it's more of a conversation. I mean, insurance isn't one size fits all. I know that the federal government likes to make it that way, but it doesn't always seem to work for the small business owner. So having
Yeah.
options is really important, and having someone who's willing to talk through those options with you, I think, is what sets us apart as an organization. Because oftentimes, I mean, insurance agents get paid on how many contracts they have. So when you have an organization that has 10 employees, you're going to make more money on that group than you are necessarily on that person that's just a solopreneur. But
Right.
I look at the solopreneur as an evergreen individual who can always refer more business owners and refer other people. I think that raving fans in the solopreneur world, make your business growth and your marketing so much easier because it comes from
Mhm.
referral. So that's why we believe, especially in the small business and the solopreneur insurance space.
So let's just pivot a little bit to the HR piece because, again, oftentimes they may only have one or two or a half a dozen
Mhm.
employees, and they're trying to do the HR piece themselves because they don't think they can afford an HR person. Talk to us how you might be able to help that situation.
Yeah. So with Clarity HR, one of the things that I was nervous about in starting it was I was afraid of HR myself. I mean, I was
Mm.
running a business, I had about 20 employees, but to hire that HR expert, I could hire that person. And what if I don't like them? And then I've got to try to get rid of them. And they know more about the law than me. So I think a lot of times with business owners that have very small businesses or they're starting to scale, they get nervous when it comes to their people. What's the right way to hire? And if it doesn't go well, what's the right way to break up with that person? I mean, terminations and offboarding someone can cause some serious trauma for small business owners to the point where they're like, I just don't ever want employees ever again. And there are times where you're preventing yourself from that growth and that destiny that you
Mm.
have as a business owner. So Clarity is an affordable price point. I mean, we have products and programs that start for as little as, $1,500 for the year, where you get an hour of HR coaching a month. You call us if you have questions. We're like your HR bat phone, regardless of what state you're in. We give you a toolbox and kind of teach you how to use the tools within that toolbox. You need us to help you with the handbook, we can help you with the handbook. It's finding a product and a solution for that individual, answering their questions so that they feel empowered to make decisions around their people. Because oftentimes, you find some of these shelf products, whether it's from a payroll company or from an online HR provider, and you think, okay, I'll just use this, and it becomes kind of like an AI chatbot. So we're actually real people behind the technology. So it's really important that not just we teach you how to use it, but we're giving you the answers in a timely manner. And you're not Googling your HR questions, because that can be so dangerous, Vicki. You're Googling, how do I terminate an employee? And you may be reading about Ohio, but you live in California. And those are two different planets when it comes to HR
It
rules and
is.
regulations, how you offboard, how you have to, what you have to pay, and when you have to pay it, especially when you're exiting an employee in certain states.
Yeah.
It may be within, I mean, I want to say Colorado is within 10 hours of dismissing someone. They have to have their paycheck in hand for that day. That's a lot if you don't know what's going on. And maybe you just hired a virtual employee in Colorado and you have no idea because you're in Georgia. So that's
Mhm.
kind of what Clarity can help you with. And that's why we kind of develop some of those programs to give affordable price points for fractional HR services, whether you need us for a little set amount of time, an hour to 2 hours a month, or you need us for 20 hours a month. We're here to help you.
Awesome. Awesome. So how, as the CEO, the solopreneur, whatever, how do you encourage this culture of resilience and innovation within your company? Because again, oftentimes our thing is to stay where we're comfortable, but
Mhm.
to grow, we need to go outside of that comfort zone. And so resilience and innovation sometimes don't actually come in the same vocabulary.
Yeah, so a few things. One, I would say it's always great to find individuals that you can be coached by. And
Yes.
finding individuals who have more experience than you, that have done things in a broader scale, at least for me, there are times where I've got to make a decision and I may be really scared to do it. And so
Mhm.
I need someone who can sometimes just cheer me on and go, this is not going to kill you. I promise. This is not going to be as hard as you think it is. Let's get out of your own way. Or have you thought about it this way? So, kind of thinking about things in a different perspective. So, I am always a proponent, whether you are the business owner or you're a manager within an organization, that you always find someone that can help you get to the next level. So, I'm a firm believer in coaching. And then, second, I would say there are two things that we talk about at Clarity: that you have to be coachable, which we just talked about, and then open to change. So having that
Mhm.
open mind and being willing to
Yeah.
look at things differently. Building resiliency is something that I think there's so many different ways that you can do it, and it's multifaceted. We've brought in different individuals to help train and develop our team on different types of soft skills, different specific ways to build your emotional resiliency, distress tolerance techniques, especially during COVID. We took our team, we didn't realize it initially, but we took them through a year-long program that started 6 months before um, COVID occurred, and kind of worked through and kind of continued to build those soft skills. But knowing too that when you can help your employees become more resilient, not just in their work life, it always
Mhm.
filters into their personal life. And when we
Yeah,
build a resilient workforce, we build resilient families, we build resilient communities, and we can change the world very easily. I think that
absolutely.
small business owners have the greatest potential to impact and change in the world, because they touch so many different people, whether it's the customers that they serve, the vendors that they work with, or the employees that work with them.
Absolutely. So, what motivated you to add that piece of philanthropy into your business? And how does it align with your company's core values, mission statement, um, the image that you want to project?
Yeah, so we have a motto at AUI and Clarity now, which is do good, be good. And I
Mm,
would say that growing out of a third generation family business that started from a pastor's wife, we have always been ingrained
yes.
in service. In a lot of ways, it was more ingrained in the spiritual community. And then as I matured into my role, I realized that so many things we were doing as an organization on our own in leadership, but then also with our employees, we're volunteering, we're sponsoring events. I saw the impact that we were making, but I didn't see that we were making, what's the right way to put it? We weren't pushing it out in the community, and not saying like, hey, look at me, I'm awesome, but just saying, hey, employees who are all working together and who are working for this organization, look at what we're doing. Because of the work that we do in the insurance space, it enables us to do all of these amazing things in the community. So all I did was give it a title and a little bit more structure, but I feel like that value had always been ingrained within our organization. It was generational, from my grandmother to my father and my mother, to me, it has always been something that we've looked at. How can we serve in the community? What can we do to make the world better? Whether it's in serving in a church, serving on a board of directors, or just serving and tutoring in another space.
Yeah. And I have always found that whenever you volunteer, it gives you so much back. And it's not just giving back to the community and having them realize better world, better life, but it's also you get so much. You learn how to work as a team, you learn different skills, and doing habitat. I learned how to build houses. I mean, you also learn from others that you're with, because oftentimes you're mentoring next to CEOs or
Yes.
corporate leaders, and you're learning those skills from just being able to work as a team with that person, and the conversations that you have that are so rich and wonderful that it, if you don't volunteer, I think you're really missing out on a lot of great things in life.
Yes. And I would say, especially as business owners, as we get to a certain level of success, writing the check is easy.
Hmm.
And I would say writing the check is the cop out to some degree. When you get to a certain level at that CEO, or you've got a high level of experience in management, nonprofits need your time. They
Hmm.
desperately need you in board service. Organization, I mean, you're talking about individuals that live in mission in the nonprofit space. They're not necessarily business people who know
Hmm.
how to handle HR and finance and regulatory compliance and different components of legal. So I think especially as frontline leaders, you are leaving something on the table if you're not willing to take some time and volunteer your time in that way. Because I think there's absolutely, you hit the nail on the head. There's so much learning and connection that can happen when you're serving in that capacity in the community.
I know that it also, you hear oftentimes now, especially with our low unemployment, well, I can't find good people. Well, this is a great way to do an interview with someone, see how they are working for free. And just
Absolutely.
imagine if you say, oh, well, I will pay you this much money to do this same job. It's just, it's so wonderful. And I know I was offered to assist in a strategic plan for Boys and Girls Club when I was just in administration. The CIO of my company was on the board, and he said, oh, you should come and help. And so that experience of learning how to do this 5-year plan helped me in my later board efforts to actually keep another nonprofit from closing their doors. And
Wow.
and so you really don't know what gifts you're going to be receiving in those efforts. So I applaud you for what you're doing, and again encourage my audience out there, just because you're an entrepreneur, maybe not with a big company, doesn't mean you shouldn't reach out and try to help.
No, and especially those solopreneurs, because you're
Mhm.
used to being able to put things together and be hyper creative. I think
Yeah,
nonprofits can really benefit from those solopreneur and entrepreneurial mindsets.
yeah, for sure. So time is rushed by here. Just one last question. Just briefly give us one tip as our rapid fire question of how do you successfully manage relationships and the expectations within a family when it's a
Oh,
family run business. And a lot of times, uh, as entrepreneurs, we do, our kids see what we're doing, and it becomes a family business. But talk to us about how you, just one tip, one thing, if there was one thing that you wanted to share with us about that, what would that tip be?
so I would say if we're going to talk about how to foster good communication and relationship within a family, an entrepreneurial family,
That's a
okay,
good one.
I would
That's a good
say
one.
it is balance and
Oh, goodness.
having a healthy relationship. So you have to
Yeah.
have a healthy relationship with your business to be able to have a healthy relationship with your family. So that business it becomes sometimes a third, fourth, fifth child. Sometimes it is needy. And you know, your children, your physical children, will know when you choose that business over them. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to have a generational family business and you want your children to be in that business, being able to balance both of those things is really important, because if you have always chosen your business over your children and your family is never going to choose that business with you.
That's right. That's right. And I, I say that with everything, whenever you're in a volunteer organization too, the way that you project how you do your job will guarantee either that you can find people to take your job, or you will always struggle to find someone, because nobody
Yes.
wants that job because of the way you do that job.
Mm-hmm. Agreed completely. The
Yeah.
power of saying no.
Mm,
So if you ask me what the second thing is, I would say it's the ability to say no to the things that aren't really important.
yeah. On the other side of that coin, I think, is also the ability to say yes when it scares the crap out of you.
Oh, absolutely. That's a whole nother podcast topic.
I know. I definitely think we have to do a second podcast. It's been such a wonderful time chatting with you. Let me share my screen. If others enjoy this podcast as much as I have been in this conversation, I'm sure you're going to want to connect with Chrissy. So let me share her contact information, as I always do. And I always remind you, if you are just listening, you should have grabbed a paper and pencil from the very beginning to get this information. But you can go to my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling, to subscribe and see all of these wonderful podcasts, or findyourleadershipconfidence.com. But if you're watching right now, you can take a screenshot. The website is AUIinfo.com. That's AUIN, two I's, NFO. So AUIinfo.com. The Facebook is Chrissy.Myers Johnston, and Instagram is Chrissy Myers CEO, and Instagram is Chrissy Myers CEO. I'm going to let Chrissy tell you a little bit about where you can find her book on Amazon, and also what you should look for when you go to AUIinfo.com. Chrissy?
Yes. So in looking at AUIinfo.com, if you want to connect with me, you can always hit the contact us or about us link, and you can send me an email. They come to me directly. Also, linking to my book, it's reluctantlyresilientthebook.com, or it's available on Amazon in print, Kindle, and soon to be audio.
Awesome. Well, it has been wonderful talking about building your AUI, Clarity HR, and your team awesome sauce. And I do hope that we can have another episode where we can just delve even further into other topics that we weren't able to talk about today. But thanks for being a great guest.
Thank you, Vicki.
And as always, I remind everyone that life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling, signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.